back up a seckie. Let's back up a seckie. And okay, so most of you, so the estimated mean is actually something you did in grade 10. So definitely write some notes. The estimated mean we do for grouped data. Only for group data. If you don't have group data, then you just go straight away, add all the data values together, divide it by the total frequency, and that will give you the mean. Now, what you need for the estimated mean from grade 10 is the midpoint of each interval. So that's what we're going to work out first in this column that I've added. And since you all seem to have forgotten how to calculate the estimated mean, definitely work along with me, draw extra column, and now start calculating the midpoint. The midpoint we get, listen carefully, by going the boundaries of the interval. So this says, for the time taken between 2 and 6 minutes, so 2 and 6 minutes, we calculate the midpoint. So we take the 2 plus the 6, that's 8, divided by 2 gives me 4. That's how you calculate the midpoint of the interval. So 2 plus 6 divided by 2 is equal to 4. And then you do the same for each of these intervals. So 6 plus 10 is 16 divided by 2, so that's 8. 10 plus 14 divided by 2 is 12. 14 plus 18 divided by 2 is 16. 18 plus 22 divided by 2 is 20. 22 plus 26 divided by 2 is 24. No, that can't be right. 22 plus 26 divided by 2 is 24. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is right. 26 plus 30 divided by 2 is 28. Okay, so that is the midpoint. Now we're going to draw another column. And this is the second thing that we need. So it's the midpoint. And then the second thing we need is the frequency times the midpoint. That's our second step in the process. So I'm going to make it F for frequency times M for midpoint. So I'm going to take the frequency for this first class interval, which is 2, and multiply it by 4. 2 times by 4 gives me 8. Ten times by 8. So I take this frequency each time. So in this case, it's 10 times by 8. That's 80. Then 9 times 12. 9 times 12 is 108. Okay, so you just keep doing that each time. 7 times 16 is 112. 20 times 8 is 160. 7 times 24 is 168. And then 2 times 28 is 30. Okay, are you with me so far, everybody? Stop me if at any point, this is not really that difficult, you just have to know the steps. Find the midpoint, multiply each frequency by the midpoint of each class interval, and now we are going to sum the frequency times the midpoint. Sum frequency times midpoint. That basically means I'm going to add up this column here. Here's my highlighter. This column here, I'm now going to add up all those totals. So you got 8 plus 80 plus 108 plus 112 plus 160 plus 168 plus 30. Please put in the chat what you get when you add up the F times M column. Please put it in the chat. Everyone should be working with me, because if you're saying you don't know how to do this, now is the time to learn it forever. Put in the chat what you get, please. 666. Anyone else? Thanks, Luyanda. Silindile. Anyone else? Okay, I also get 666 if we add all of this up.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah.
For the last frequency times midpoint, is it not 56? 28 times 2.
Did I make a mistake?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. 28 times 2 is 56. Thank you very much for pointing that out. So then I think we should be getting 692. That should be right. You see why you must check what I do and if it's correct. Thanks for that. I think that was Benedict. Who was that, Coco? Did you see?
It was Dineo.
Thanks, Dineo. 692. And now comes the final step in this long process of calculating the estimated mean. We are going to take the 692 and divide it by the frequency. So your final step is divide the total by the frequency. So I'm going to write it here, 692 divided by 45. And just because you did this in grade 10 doesn't mean I can't ask it. So that gives me 15,38 if I round to 2 decimal places. Okay, so as you can see, this comes up. So definitely include this in your notes. Got to be ready for anything. Estimated mean. Anything from grade 10 they can basically ask. Now, if you have forgotten about this, remember we've got the app. There are videos on the app and lessons on the app around the estimated mean and on everything we're going to do next, which is the cumulative frequency graph. So you can go practice that, revise that in your holiday coming up. Okay, complete the cumulative frequency column in the table given in the answer book. Okay, so I copy and pasted it over here. Here is our cumulative frequency So when we do cumulative frequency, it is a rolling total. So we start with 2, then we go 2 plus 10 is equal to 12. 12 plus 9 is 21. 21 plus 7 is 28. 28 plus 8. Let me use my calculator before I make another mistake because it's late in the day. 36 plus 7 is 43. And 43 plus 2 is 45. Okay, you should be happy when you get 45 because there are 45 children in this sample, in this study. It should add up to 45. Now, the next question. So far, everything is routine. That 1 mark about how many completed the puzzle, everyone should get that. Then if you revise and study, you should be able to calculate the estimated mean. Cumulative frequency, there can be no doubt in your mind how to do cumulative frequency, okay? If you didn't get cumulative frequency in your trial paper, it can very well come up in your final paper. So no doubt in your mind how to do cumulative frequency. You must know that you just do a rolling total and you add it up. So far we are in the realm of routine questions. Next one, also draw a cumulative frequency graph to represent the data on the grid provided in the answer book. Okay, I want to see thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat. Who can draw a cumulative frequency in brackets ogive curve? Who can do it? In the chat, put a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Okay. Come, where's the rest of you? Zilindile says she can. Wonderful. Karabu can. Anyone else? Deneo says she can. Selena can. Benedict, Timothy, not so sure. Sepo. Okay, a few thumbs down. Okay, guys, again, this is the time to learn it and learn it forever. How do we draw a cumulative frequency graph? So the cumulative frequency graph, what shape does it have? What does it look like? Is it a bar graph? Is it a line graph? What kind of a shape does it take? For those of you who gave me a thumbs up, can you tell me? It's an S shape. That's right. Okay. So no ruler involved. You are going to use your finest artist hand to draw a beautiful S shape cumulative frequency curve. No ruler in sight. Okay. What are the points that we plot? How do we know what to plot? We are going to plot the upper boundary and the cumulative frequency. Upper boundary means these points here. Those are the ones that we are going to plot. So we see that on the x-axis is time in minutes, and on the y-axis is the cumulative frequency. So my coordinate points, let me rather use my highlighter. So these are going to be our x points, and our y points are going to be these ones. So if I had to write these as coordinate pairs, they'd be 6 and 2, 10 and 12, 14 and 21, 18 and 28, 22 and 36, 26 and 43 and 30 and 45. Okay, so those are actually our points that we have to plot. Okay, so let's start with 6 and 2. So we can see here that our axes is marked off. They made it easy for us because this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each vertical line is 1 unit, and each horizontal line is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 2. So we have to plot 6 and 2. So 6 and 2 will be here. That's my first point. Then my next point is 10 and 12. 10 and 12. And 14 and 21. 14, 21. About there. Yep. 18 and 28. 18, 28. Yep. 22 and 36. 22, 36. 26 and 43. 26 and 43. And 30 and 45. 30, 45. Okay. Now, all your points, to get all your marks, your points have to all be correct. All your points is worth 1 mark. Can you believe it? It's quite expensive, but it's not a hard mark to earn if you know what you're doing. And then, where do we start our curve? We have to ground it in the right place. So we always ground it here at the beginning. So at 2 and 0. So it's going to start here. Okay, and I'm going to try my best with my hand to draw this on the screen. 3. Okay. There we go. All right. So freehand, okay, no ruler. And you have to ground it. So your graph you'll see is worth 3 marks over here. It's for plotting all your points. All points. It's for the S shape or a curve. And your curve, you see it has to level off at the top there. You have to make Table Mountain there when you draw your, when you finish your curve. And your other mark is for grounding it in the right place. Okay. That is our cumulative frequency graph. Use the graph to determine the median time taken to complete the puzzle. This is a favorite question that always related to either the percentile or the median or something. So how do we know where the median is? So we've got 45 data points, right? So the frequency is 45. So the middle of the 45 will be which value? Which value will be the middle? Because that's the median, right? The median is the middle. So you can go 45 divided by 2, that gives you 22.5. Or you can just use a bit of logic and go, okay, if I count to the middle from 45 and from this way, then I'll get to 23. So 23 is probably more like my median. So you go to your cumulative frequency because your 23rd data value is your median, okay? So you go up to where you will find your 23rd data value, which is probably here, more or less. The marker will, whoever marks your paper will work with your graph and what you did on your graph. So that's 22. So this is my 23rd data value. And then you fly along like this until you collide with your graph. and you drop down, and this is exactly what you do in your paper matrix, so that you can show the marker, no matter what you did with your graph, even if you messed up a little bit, show that you know how to find the median. It's the 23rd data value, and then you take a reading to whatever this is. It looks like it is 15 and a half. I'm going to go with 15 and a half, 15,5. They will always have like a range of acceptable answers. And for my particular graph, because we all draw differently and all of that, it looks like it will be about 15 and a half, around there. Okay, so this was 10 marks, all routine. So if you study and you know your work and you were writing this paper, you would probably feel quite relaxed now because you've done 10 marks of fairly easy questions. For those of you who are shaky on any of these things, now is the time to make a to-do list and say, I have to revise cumulative frequency or Ogive curve. Some of you might know it as the Ogive curve. And I have to revise estimated mean, median, all of those things. Because in paper 2, your data handling, the stats, is really the marks that you cannot afford to lose. You must get as close, given the fact that paper 2 is the more challenging paper and stats is the easiest part of the paper, you have to get as many marks as possible in this section. Okay. Right. Let's see what's next. Okay. This is question 2. Have a read through for 3 minutes and get your calculator ready, get your notes ready, because we're going to be doing regression. But have a moment's time to read. And if you have a question, feel free to ask. We love questions. Okay, 22, we will start looking at it. When you're done reading, feel free to start if you are feeling confident and you know what to do. Okay, right. I actually gave you a little bit more time. So we've got learners here. They wrote a test and then they went on a computer program and then they wrote the second test. and we've got the results from their first test and their second test. There are 15 learners in the study, so they've been numbered L1, L2, L3, etc. So the first question is for us to determine the least squares regression line. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a calculator. I tried very hard today actually to download one that could project into the Zoom, but sure, it seems to be you need a computer science degree for that. But anyway, so I'm just going to talk you through the steps on your calculator. I've got this one, but if you've got the blue version of this one, the steps are the same. So let's work together, and then if you don't know the steps, write them down and then study them so that you never ever forget them again. So first of all, we have to make sure our calculator is in stats mode. So you go mode and you choose the mode that says stat. Okay. Then it will come up. There's a thing that says 1 for variance, VAR is variance. And then there's a 2, A plus BX, A plus BX. That is the one we're looking for. That is, so on your calculator, also look for the option that says A plus BX, because that is the regression option. Because our regression line is always in the form A plus BX. That just looks like a straight line, right? Just with a different order. But basically, what a regression line does is it takes the data from one variable and relates it to another variable. And then from that, given the formula that it uses, you can establish a relationship and start to say things like the one variable predicts the other variable in a certain way. So basically, what the question is getting at here is, what is the relationship between the test 1 score and the test 2 score? And that's what our regression line is going to tell us. Okay, it's going to spew out a whole lot of numbers, and that equation, those numbers, are basically going to help us determine the relationship between the test 1 score and the test 2 score. So regression is very similar or very closely related to correlation. Okay, they basically in the same WhatsApp group. Correlation and regression. Okay, so we're going to do A plus BX. So you press 2. And then a table should come up that says X and Y. And often people get confused, which value is X, which value is Y. Safest thing to do is just to always take, this is your X and this is your Y. Okay, so now you're going to input your data values and work carefully, work accurately. And for X, you're going to put in the first row, and for Y, you're going to put in the second row. Okay, I'm going to do it now as well. So take a moment and you do it too. Okay, Coco, maybe you should sing while we
They'll all leave the call, Marlies. I'm a terrible singer.
Maybe someone else wants to sing. All concentrating too hard to input their data values correctly. 41, 55, 50. Maybe I should talk and break everyone's concentration. 69, 72, 98,
No, ma'am,
82.
It will take us forever to finish the question. We need to focus.
60. Here we go. Okay. Are we done? Done inputting our values. Okay, right, guys. So if you're done with your values, you now want to leave your table. So you want to go out of your table. So on your calculator, you just press AC. Oh, everything disappears. Where did it go? So you go Shift and you find your one button that says Stat and you press that. And then you should see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on my calculator, option 5 is REG. Guess what that stands for? Regression. So find on your calculator the option that says REG and press equal. Oops, press 5 first. And then you'll have 5 more options. 1 is A, 2 is B. And you press 1 and equal. And it spews out a whole big number. Which I don't, yeah. Okay. And that should be 12.44. And to go back to get your B value, you just press AC again, Shift 1, that's for stat, and then B, and B should be 0.98. B is 0.98. So A, I get is 12.44. B is 0.98. You can round to 2 decimal places, but it didn't ask for A and B. It asked for the equation of the regression line. So like I've said in previous sessions, make sure that you always answer the question. Give them what they want. A is 12.44 plus 0.98x. 3 marks. Routine, definitely. Okay, how are we with that? Show me in the chat. Is it a thumbs up? Is it a thumbs down? Great, I've got some thumbs ups here. Good stuff. Okay, but you see, it's important. You got to know your calculator. Got to know those steps. You can't sit in the exam wondering, oops, where must I, how do I get into stats mode again? Where is my regression? You must know it like this, okay? And this is something that you can just learn. Now, Next question is definitely going to be related to our first question. We're not done with the regression yet. So a learner's mark in the first test was 15 out of a maximum of 50 marks. Write down the learner's marks for this test as a percentage. Okay, that's easy. 15 out of 50 times 100 will definitely get us there. And that's 30%. Predict the learner's mark for the second test. Give your answer to the nearest integer. Now, predicting means you have to use your regression line to predict. And you're going to make your x 30%. So you're going to substitute x into your regression line to predict the score. Regression is all about prediction. Okay, so we're going to use that equation and we're going to go y is 12,44 plus 0,98 times by 30. Let's see what we get. And we have to give it to the nearest integer. So I get 41,84. So to round to the nearest integer is 42. Okay. Right, now so far it's been pretty straightforward. This is all in the realm of routine. So whenever you have to predict something, know that you have to use your regression line. Okay, so for the 15 learners above, the mean mark of the second test is 45,67%. So the mean for this is 45,67. Now I know this paragraph is quite long and wordy, so let's deal with it by maybe highlighting some important stuff. For the 15 learners above, not so important because we know by now that there's 15 learners in the study, but the mean is important, the second test is important, and 45,67% is important. And whoops, here they dropped this standard deviation. Okay, so standard deviation should be on your to-do list as well. They haven't asked it explicitly here until now, but they are now bringing it into this question. But you got to know how to do your standard deviation. And your standard deviation, we're going to do just now as well. Okay, so the teacher discovered that he forgot to add the marks of the last question to the total mark of each of these learners. That sounds like something I might do. I might forget to add marks to learners. And then I have a whole bunch of upset people in my class. But anyway, all the learners scored full marks in the last question. Wow. That's going to be you guys. That's going to be you guys at the end of the year. Full marks. When the marks of the last question are added, the new mean mark, okay, is 50.67. So the new mean and the old mean. Does everyone understand what's happened here? Teacher, a little bit tired, forgot to add the marks of one question to the test. He adds all those marks. Everyone gets full marks. So he adds all those marks. And now the mean has gone up from 45.67% to 50.67%. They give us a standard deviation as well, 13.88. So the standard deviation is always a measurement from the mean, like one standard deviation from the mean to the left or the right, or 2 standard deviations. Okay, it's a measure of variance in the data. Anyway, that's not being asked here. What is being asked is, what is the standard deviation after the marks for the last question are added to each learner's total? Okay, so now we are moving into the realm of more complex and problem-solving type questions. Okay, I would say this is complex. Not quite problem-solving, because it's not like completely blowing your mind away. It is just a little bit of thinking work. Now, what is the, so now remember, everyone got the same mark. Everyone got 5. Oops, I don't know if it's 5, but they all got the same mark. That got added to their test. So what is the standard deviation? Now, we can start by working out how many marks were actually added. So let's just remember, when you get a question and you don't know what to do, what do we do when we don't know what to do? Just start playing, just working a few things out. So I can already say that, what is the total mark before the correction? Okay, I'm going to call it the correction, before the teacher made the correction. And for that, we can just take the old mean, the 45.67, and times it by 15. It's like doing the reverse. Instead of saying, what is the mean, we total everything up and divide it by the frequency. We're saying, oh, this is the mean, we times it by 15, then we get what the total was. So 45.67 times 15. That gives me 685.05. So the total mark after the correction. So now he's added everything back. He's fixed it. So we can take that mean, 50.67, and we times it by 15. This is just how my brain works. Maybe you are approaching it in a different way. That's fine. That is 760. So how many marks did he actually add? How many marks did he add? Well, we can work out the difference, 685.05 or 760.05 minus 685, and that is 75 marks. So 75 marks in total. So that means each person, how many marks did each person get? 5 marks each. Okay, so that's just from like playing around and using some of the information. So now I go back to the question. What is the standard deviation after the marks for the last question are added to each learner's total? Well, if each person gets the same mark, the standard deviation is not going to change. It's going to stay the same. So it's 13.88%. Okay, so if you didn't know that, the mean changes, but because each person gets the same amount added to their total, the standard deviation is actually not going to change. It's going to stay the same. And then what is the total mark for the last question? Well, that's 5 marks. And I just worked it out over here. Okay, so just a bit of thinking, a bit of playing around, and just working with, like, with a lot of these complex and problem-solving questions, just start with what is given. So what is given? The means are given. How can I use that to solve my problem? What do I know? How does the mean tell me? What does the mean tell me about the problem? Okay, and that is 7 o'clock. So we are on the dot. Any questions about this before we sign off for the evening? Please feel free to ask. Matrix. I haven't had a question from anyone in a while, so please send us some questions. it will be nice to solve some of your questions, not just some of the ones that I dig up. It's and then you also, you know, you get mentioned on YouTube that this is your question. So you get the chance to have your name up in lights for a little while. Okay, over to Nikayla / Coco.
Yes, thank you. Hi guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I just want to share one thing with you guys, just so you guys remember, even though Wednesday is our very last lesson, if you still have somebody who you think might benefit from this class.
For the term, there's more lessons next term.
Yes. So this is the last lesson for this term, and then term 4 will have more lessons. Yeah, if you guys still think there's someone who would benefit, please ask for the referral code, and we will definitely be able to send it to you. And you can send it to, I think at this point, it's as many friends as you would like. So yeah, you can send it to however many friends you like, and they can come and join us for our last lesson on Wednesday. Oh, our last lesson for term 3 on Wednesday. Okay. Yeah. We will also be sending you guys a survey very shortly. So if you guys can have a look out for that, we'd like to know what you guys have thought of the classes and what you guys think of what might be coming next for you guys. So yeah, that's it from me.
Keep an eye out. Sorry, Coco. Keep an eye out on the website. We've got a lot of stuff planned for next term, for matrics, for revision. So keep an eye out. And yeah.
And tell all your friends. Have them come join us. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it from our side, Marilise. We're going to release them back into the wild.
Go forth and conquer. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye, Timothy.